It's been an incredible weekend so far from across the losers bracket and the winners bracket, with three more loser round two matches coming up and three more winners brackets in the quarterfinals that still have yet to be played throughout the weekend. My name is Xia XD. I'm here with Felicia, and we got ourselves a great match with Russian and versus Brazil.
Yeah, it's going to be quite an interesting match for Russia, seeding slightly higher than Brazil, seeding the 12th seed and Brazil at the 21st seed. And if we talk about the group stage runs for both of these teams, for Brazil, you had that unfortunate result up against France that they did end up having to forfeit. But overall, not having necessarily the best showing in the group stage, losing 5-0 to Spain and also just about beating Thailand 5-2. But overall, Russia with a much more strong group stage run, beating Vietnam 5-0, Ukraine 5-4, and just barely losing up to Norway 5-3. And if we talk about their run in the actual start of the bracket stage, Russia had the opportunity to face off against Poland, and they did lose 6-1, but they did take that a very important point up against the first seeded team, whereas Brazil won against New Zealand 6-2. So Brazil does kind of have the momentum going into this match, having just won their previous match, whereas Russia did unfortunately have to face the Goliath that is Poland. But it's a different match, different pool, different teams, and I think it's going to be a very good match. Overall, both of these teams have a very storied history, and I think this is actually a rematch from the 4WC 2023 losers bracket quarterfinals round 1. So the exact same stage that this is. Both of these teams played against each other, and I believe Russia did win 6-0. So it'll be interesting to see if Brazil can get their revenge.
Let's get their revenge indeed. Still a couple of things you gotta cover over when we talk about momentum in such tournaments like this. Yes, you can make an example for Singapore, which is seed 31 in this tournament and is still going strong, winning out against Spain in that losers round 1 in the quarterfinals. So momentum is a huge thing in these kind of tournaments. And for a team setting as 4v4 team size A, every single person's got to have their pocket in the bag. And especially when you're going against a higher seed and different teams. And especially this map pool. This map pool has been very, very well played out. I'm pretty sure every single map has been played during this entire weekend. Most of the bans being on the gimmicks due to the gimmicks maps being absolutely ridiculously hard. I'm just gonna give props up to the Nomad 5 and Hin 2, which would probably be Brazil's bans. They have been opting out for more of the gimmick bans as they have in round of 16 and more of the group stage. Russia has been opting out for more of these mechanical bans such as like Hard Rock 1, Hard Rock 3 on the board. They could also go for some of the more mechanic requirement DT maps that need a little bit more speed, a little bit more faster aim, like DT2, DT3 being up there in mechanical skill. But I think Brazil has just that stronger kind of DT and Hard Rock area there. So hitting 2, Brazil, not a surprise at all for the gimmick ban right there.
Yeah, Brazil definitely will opt in for the hidden 2 and 1-5 ban. Russia is very, very strong at both of those. And Brazil it's just one of Brazil's weaker sides in this 4WC, with this current 4WC roster. Historically, of course, they did have some stronger players, of course, having players like Zobs and Excretor in previous iterations, who would have really done well on some of these maps. But it's kind of a new age for Brazil. A lot of new players coming in, and some familiar faces on the way out. So those gimmick bans will be very expected from Brazil. And as for Russia, I think they might opt into probably one of the Hard Rocks, and maybe that DT2 or DT1 might get banned out. I think they will leave that Fremont 3 open, considering Russia is a team that does, I think, excel a little bit better with mods in comparison to Brazil.
Believing that. Stalling the timer just a little bit. Expecting more of the mechanic bans coming out from Russia. Brazil has been pretty, I'd say, okay in terms of like the overall scores that they've been getting. Do have a lot of high scores, especially in those DT maps. I mean, when you look at Brazil's entire roster, players like Toy Break, Yuichi, and that's on Osu. You got those like mechanical brilliance from most of those 3 players. That core is insane. Their hidden does seem to fall off in terms of the kind of like aspects where, yeah, lower ARs such as like very dense AR9 hidden plays for Brazil kind of fall off. But Russia, very, very obvious and very, very intuitive bands here. DT1, DT2 mechanics are going to be a kind of a scarce field here for the entire map pool that we have here. Brazil probably absent for that normal 5 ban if they want to continue with the gimmick ban in this tournament. And yeah, that will be right where they want to land.
Yeah, very expected bans obviously by both of these teams. Russia opting to ban both of the 10.3 tapping maps, though there is still that remaining DT3, which I believe is about 230 BPM, quite a bit of stamina, which is something Brazil did quite excel on in the last round. I believe getting a triple FC on Gas 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 in the further ass rank on Mistia. So a very, very strong tapping core, a very strong mechanics core for the side of Brazil, but just really falls through on the gimmicks, which is why they do opt for that hidden to a normal 5 ban. And as for Russia's first pick, I feel they just might opt into the hidden pool, honestly. Maybe that hidden 3 straight away.
Yeah, I think going straight to that hidden pool is it's going to work wonders, especially when you're going against Brazil. I mean, we've already talked about it. Their hidden roster is a little bit weaker in terms of the overall score that we had in the stats of round of 16. But Russia's kind of taking time on this pick. You're definitely going to stall at the timer just to check if you can be able to play the map they're going to be picking. If you look at the free mob pool, that's going to be a pretty balanced area for both of these teams, considering that most of the free mods that both of these teams have been going against in terms of stats have been very, very equal. No one has gone over each other in free mod stats by a lot, both of them tying in free mod maps. But the no mods also going to be very, very equal. It's just in Brazil's favor for Hard Rock and DTs that might push them over the edge, but it doesn't mean Russia cannot combat against those kind of picks. But I think the 2-minute timer did run out. The pick hasn't come through. Unfortunately, the stalling will be left out a little bit longer, but we'll get that pick sooner than ready.
I think free mod 2 might be the most, I guess, favored map out of the ones left over, but that is not what will be picked here. It will be the no mod 4, which I guess does make a good amount of sense, considering it is, I guess, a bit more of a funky no mod 4. It has a bit more complex rhythms. You'll see a lot of players struggling for accuracy on this map, and if Russia has a good core of players who are really confident in this map, who can get like very solid, like 96, 97% accuracies, then it's a very, very good pick for them. Brazil, I think, can get a couple FCs on this, but you will definitely want to keep an eye out for the accuracies, because that's something I think Brazil would definitely fall behind on this map for sure.
Going to a amalgamation of lots of swing patterns, lots of different kind of slider trajectories in the second half of this map, and really going to be paying attention to the accuracy, because the swing does kind of fall in such a way where the accuracy is going to falter a lot. And 8.7 OD doesn't seem like a lot, but especially in swing, is very notorious for ruining a lot of people's accuracies. A CS 2.8 is a very, very interesting circle size to have in this kind of map. But when you see the patterns, when you see the swing, when you see the sliders and how they add up to each other in mainly the second half of this map, the first half of this map really going to be a lot of free combo until you get to the slider tech sections. But this is a very, very interesting pick for Russia. I do have Brazil kind of being a little bit competitive on this map here. But we'll just have to wait and see. Your kind of core player as Yuichi for Brazil is going to be up in that 5th slot. Going to be ready for this normal 4.
I think Yuichi is definitely a player to look out for on this map for the side of Brazil, and I think you might see someone like Misty also coming in. A very historic Brazil player, having played in many, many iterations of even the O2 World Cup, and being one of those prime Brazilian players, part of like that Brazilian core that in 2020 was able to reach top 6 in the World Cup, but different times, and also a new year, and a completely different pool. This pool, I don't know how much it would necessarily favor Brazil. I see Mistia coming in. This one for in specific, I think, as you did say, Brazil should be fairly competitive on it. But I think it's just mainly based off of the combo, because I think in terms of accuracy, Russia should just have an absolute field day on this. But Brazil, again, can be competitive on this.
Yeah, Russia has been pretty good in the tech department. But Noma 4 is just completely different. And let's just see, like, it still has the tech mechanics, such as sliders, in that second half. And I believe we're really going to be focusing on that second ki. So most of the combo going to be very, very important. Accuracy is just a lot of complementary score that you can attach to your lovely 1 million cap, but it's going to be a wild ride for combo. I believe the timer should be up by now. I believe the map should be starting right now. So first map, Noma 4. It is going to be a wonderful, wonderful best of 11 starting right now.
Yep, I'm very much looking forward to it. Two teams with a very storied history in many World Cups. And getting started off straight away, you see Brazil with a very slight early lead, about a couple thousand points, but that should even out as the map does go on. Russia's struggling a little bit more than Brazil on the swing rhythms. And it seems to be a story that's just continuing. Russia falling just a little bit behind in the accuracy department, but we're still yet to get into the actual main part of the map, the main body of the map. But early doors, Brazil a little bit more comfortable on the rhythms.
Combo still very much well intact for every single player here. And you can see that the accuracies are really, really low. 87 for one player in Russia. We have a couple of low 90s for Brazil, just one on Mistia. But now into the tech section right here, we do have a little bit of very awkward polygonal all patterns here. Sazuha going to be the first break for Russia, and that's going to be only one FC down for the rest of this map. So huge lead for Brazil, another FC down for Russia. So much leeway for Brazil, and they're keeping these two lead FCs right now, because that is such huge score going into the second half. Misty is going to find a break, but you still have 3 FCs and a little bit of supporting combo coming in from Russia, but that's not enough if you're going to drop another FC. And now Brazil in the driver's seat with 3 FCs to 1.
Yep, and I was talking about the accuracy being a strong point for Russia, but completely scrapped that idea, because Brazil is completely dominating on the accuracy. You see Jadok pretty low at 91% accuracy, whereas the lowest accuracy in Brazil is 94%. However, those two combos on Brazil, you drop Kagira, Misty, and Yuichi now. It is 1 FC to 1. And all of a sudden, Russia's straight back into this map. And that common Aphrodite is so important for Brazil if they want to hold on to this 200,000 score lead. As Misty finds repeated breaks, and Aphrodite finds a break on that full combo. Oh wait, hold on, but the Kagira break was actually a Banter break. So there's still 1 FC to 1. However, look at the recovery combo on Suzuha, which does unfortunately now find a drop. And Brazil is still very much in this, but that common Kagira is so important for this advantage for Brazil.
And it's just the second Ki section that I was talking about that was so important, the whole combo throughout. And Kagira and Markram go through that section unscathed. But do you have enough supporting combo for Russia? Sazaha going to find another drop on the supporting combo. But it is the slider streams. It is the very awkward ones. And Kagira, that's going to be a break for Brazil. Markram, that's going to be the opportunity. It's going to go stretching all the way towards Russia's side. But it's a break before the takeover. There's still a couple of combo to prevent Gata from combining this lead, but there is nothing that they can do. Russia just dropped all their huge combos apart, supporting combos, double break, triple break for Brazil. Is that enough to take it over? There's still a little bit of combo. It's a Bancho on Yuchi. It's another break for Markram. That should be another break for Brazil, but what is going on? It's pandemonium on the screen in Brazil. 19k, and it's a break point from the skin of their teeth.
I think, let me just double check the MP link on this, because there are good chances of there being quite a few banter breaks on this, but I think Brazil does actually completely seal that break point now. And what a great point in the match. Starting off straight away with a break point is absolutely massive for this Brazilian team. Clutching it out by 18,000 points, just confirming here on the MP link. And Kagira with that very important combo at the end, just about holding on to the score lead for Brazil. And what a close map to kick things off with. And it's really just, I think, something we'll see all throughout the match. Brazil and Russia, there is that 9 seed disparity. but they are two teams that can really just go at it on so many maps. They have kind of, I'd say, polar opposite skill sets, but as like their strong suits, because on Russia you have that really strong gimmick, Brazil you have that really strong tapping, but then everything else is really closely matched, which is exactly what we saw here on this tech.
Crazy breakpoint. You could have it any other way to start off this best of 11 with that first map. Normal 4, an absolute steal that Brazil just took. And by 19k, 1 point is absolutely huge in this best of 11. And with Brazil having a lot of mechanics on the board, such as Nomad 2, DT3, you can make an exception. Fremont 3 being the most mechanically demanding map in the pool, apart from DT3 being more stamina heavy. Brazil has a lot of beautiful things that they can pick up for. This might have to go on until that kind of like end game of this matchup where you start having less maps to pick from, but mainly having a lot of maps still left up in your department is really good. And with the breakpoint, it's going to be very beautiful.
Yep, and it's just such a great point in the match to get a breakpoint. Starting with the match off with a breakpoint is just such great momentum, and such you can convert this breakpoint now, consolidate it. It will be such a great point for Brazil. But I think we might want to look at Fremont 3 here for Brazil. Either Fremont 3 or DT3. We saw how well Brazil did last week on the DT3. Well, in this case, it would be DT2, but we kind of swapped around the mod slot, so it's the equivalent. But never mind, scrap that. We go for no mod 1? This is, I think, the second match in a row that I've commentated where I've been surprised with the no mod 1 pick. And I'd honestly say in a matchup like this, it is a lot more coin flippy. Especially if you look at qualifiers, yes, it was a 6-minute long no mod 1 just complete consistency test. Russia did seed quite a bit higher, seeding 13th up against Brazil's 25th seed on the no mod 1. But this is a completely different style of map. It is a lot shorter. It's 2.5 minutes of completely relentless 226 BPM aim coming straight at you. Not really stopping for any moment, so Brazil, I guess, just feeling quite confident on the aim and thinking that they can outscore Russia on this, having quite a lot of strong team score on this, so we'll see how this does pan out for them.
Hear it in the song, you do kind of like see a glimpse of Jetpack Race if you're really thinking of how this map kind of lays out, as well as the song. Very consistent 226 BPM aim map. We're not really swaying off from difficulty at all. When you think of Nomad 1s, when you think of those consistency maps, you're really looking at those like incredibly huge diff spikes in the end of those key eyes that really are very important for your combo. But this is a map where 7.18 star rating is pretty much the difficulty for every single second of this map. Not a lot of consistency changes, not a lot of difficulty changes in this map. So Brazil picking this. We did discuss Felicia very surprised from the Nomad 1 pick and being a very coin flip map. But with Brazil's kind of like mechanical dependency on these kind of higher BPM maps, 226 BPM kind of falls in a really good region of their skill set. I mean, this aim 9.7 AR, OOD 9.2, not going to really be a huge matter in terms of the map stats, but how the map is laid out is just so favored in Brazil, in my opinion.
I honestly think it's still a bit coin flippy, because, yeah, Brazil's more dependent on the mechanics, but again, the aim is something Russia is very comfortable on. So, I don't know how I feel about this pick from Brazil. I like it's something kind of surprising. So, again, what we saw on the previous map, I think we might see honestly a repeat. I think the Nomad 4, like, kind of score gap we saw, I can honestly see the same thing happening again, which would be really exciting to see 2 maps in a row being decided by only a couple, like 20,000-30,000 points. We'll see if Brazil has just a lot of strong FCs on this, because again, it's a map that I can see looking at this roster players like Kagira, Yuichi, Rafael, like really excelling on. So I guess I do kind of get the pick, but just still really unexpected.
Brazil's opportunity to consolidate that absolute jaw-dropping 19k lead on that Nomad 4. And pretty much nothing else to say about this map, but this is pretty much what you're seeing for the rest of our 2-minute 30-second map. Only 1 break on Rafael on Brazil, so Russia It's going to be slight lead. Not going to be too much of a worry. I believe there was a little bit of an early break on Antana, but that won't be such a huge deficit. So only a 2K advantage towards Brazil due to the accuracy. So all so far so good for all these teams.
However, that break from Rafael is going to start to matter a little bit more. Finding a couple of repeated breaks will give Russia the lead despite this very early break from Anton Garvik. They were so early, they just really won't have an impact on the map, both missing about 20 combo in, which in the grand scheme of things is almost irrelevant. But getting into some more aim, we see Matson Osu finding a break, so it is 2 FCs only left on Brazil. And on Russia, I think it can just almost call it a 4-way. Those 2 breaks very early on are just very, like, such meaningless misses. And as you can see, Russia already excelling with a 140,000 score lead. Matson obviously finding more repeated breaks. But Rafael is starting to build a nice recovery. But Kagura breaks. And almost all the FCs are gone on Brazil. It's only Yuichi left standing. And Russia just looks so poised to take this breakpoint straight back from Brazil. Already at a 300,000 point lead halfway through. The Hushka still won that SS as well. Oh, I had to mention it. I'm
Goodbye.
sorry.
Goodbye to the SS. The SS now turns into a one misplay with a huge score cap. Mats on Os. Brazil losing more of the supporting combo than they are gaining. And that is still 3 FCs beautifully held by all Russia players. Down to 2. Got a big. Going to find a break for Russia. But now down to 2. Excuse me, 1 FC. As Biadok going to find a break. But I don't know if that's another break at all. There is not enough time, not enough score, and not enough combo for Brazil to do any sort of thing to try and bring this lead over. You have Ricci and Antana for this beautiful double FC on the board, but Russia recovering so well from that Noma 4 steal to an absolute dominant Noma 1. So clean for Russia here.
Yep, and this is, I guess, what I was talking about. I do kind of get the pick from Brazil, but again, aim is something that Russia is very, not just competent, but very just overall solid on. And as you can see here, Yuichi does close out the FC, but Russia just overall having the stronger team scores, sitting at 3 600Ks in that near FC by Anton, only missing right at the very start and right at the very end. So Russia faring up a little bit better than Brazil on this Nomad 1 and getting the breakpoint straight back. So back-to-back breakpoints, as you did mention, and it is time for Russia to, I guess, try and actually win on their own pick now.
Well, we've seen a lot of themes in terms of breakpoints. And if the 2 first maps are breakpoints, will we see the next 2 maps as breakpoints? And will we see the rest of the maps also be breakpoints? We love picking each other's picks. But it's time for a Russia pick here. Fremont pool still intact for every single map there. We've gone ourselves into that Noma 1. We have gone ourselves into that. Oh, I believe we are going into a Fremont 2, which is understandable. Russia has the gimmick advantage, especially from Brazil's hidden 2 and Nomad 5 bans. But Brazil has to take 1 hidden and 1 hard rock. I believe that they will be very fine in terms of the other mods that they have to pick.
I think here for Brazil, you won't see any easy. I think you'll probably see Missy taking the hidden, and probably both Yuichi and maybe Toy Break. Maybe you can also get already taking the hard rocks. I think it'll be 1 hit and 2 hard rocks from Brazil, and probably Kagura on the Nomad. Whereas on the side of Russia, there are good chances you might see an easy coming in. And if there is, isn't that bad on easy. I think we've seen in other matches, we've seen, I believe, I'm not sure if it was a Singapore match, where we did see 3 easies, but in at least one of the matches this weekend, we did already see a team opting for 3 easies, so I don't think we'll see necessarily that many easies, but definitely 1 or 2 easies from Russia is very viable. But this
this map is really going to be in terms of kind of that old map style. This is not the custom, I believe. This is the custom. No, this is the
It
custom.
is a custom map.
Yeah,
It is a
this is the
custom by
custom
Nick.
map.
So yeah, thank you very much, Nick, for mapping for this 4WC quarterfinal stage. We really do appreciate it. One of the former hosts of 4WC and is currently hosting 3WC. Well, not currently, but is one of the hosts now for 3WC.
In this Fremont 2, very, very kind of reminiscent of those old style maps. If you really think of those Kirby mix maps, it does have a little bit of that sprinkled in, but the hard rock on this is going to be incredibly difficult. I'd say the 3 burst and the 5 burst are kind of mainly where you're going to find those breaks. The aim is not going to be that difficult on the hard rock. But the doubles and the kind of space triples and those very, very space 5 bursts are going to be what catches those hard rock players off guard. For the hiddens, kind of being that dense, very, very dense kind of doubles that you have to really, really make sure you hit them in terms of the OD. 9 is a note lockable territory, so hidden and nomad is kind of scary in terms of you missed that earlier. No, you're gonna possibly note lock on the rest of that burst. So Russia picking this, very, very understandable.
Yeah, I think it's overall very solid pick given Brazil's quite, I'd say, significant gimmick weakness this year in, I think, again, I really think we will see an easy from Russia. We see Markram coming in and Garabik. I don't think we'll see both of them going hidden, so I think at least one of them will go easy, and if there is one player to go easy, it will probably be Markram. But we could also see a double easy coming in, and that's exactly what we see. Markram and Garabik both on the easy, and I think this just really showcases Russia's strength on the gimmick. Brazil with 0 easies and the double hard work that I did mention on Aphrodite and Yuichi. Kagura taking the hit and Kawa on the no mod. So honestly, I think Russia, just based off of these mod combinations, is already pretty favored on this map, given just the easy comfort in general.
Yeah, just having double easy is going to make so much score multiplier for them. And you can already see that lead already up to 50k. There's already only one break on Aphrodite for Brazil on the hard rock, and being the more difficult mod of the bunch, it's going to be understandable to find that break. Yuichi still on the harder cold, and a couple of hidden and no mods from the other 2 players on Brazil. But Delete and Dahuka doing amazing work for Russia right now on those other alt mods. But the easies are kind of where the show is. An SS on Markram, Yuichi finding a drop on the hard rock, Brazil faltering on the hidden. And that's only 1 FC on Brazil for the no mods. Very low accuracy, but it's the only thing keeping them in the game. But what can you do against these 3 FCs? Garabik did find an easy break in the earlier scheme of things, but what can you do? It's still an absolute obliteration here.
Yeah, it's what I mentioned. Russia's comfort on the easy is really being showcased here. So as you did mention, there was the Garabik break, but it's also just not on the easy. Delete looking so strong on this hard rock. And the hood shot also on the normal, just absolutely excelling, finding that very, very, very early break, only about 30 comments to the map. And if you just look on Brazil, it's a complete full reset. Kawa down on that no mod, and Russia just completely running away with the score. Markham still holding on to the SS. What is this team score we're seeing from Russia here? Still holding on to effectively a triple FC. Garabik recovering so well. And I think we're going to see this team score cross way over the 3 million mark if things keep going the way they are. And the lead's still holding on to the Hard Rock FC. I had to mention. I'm so sorry. It's the second time I've got on Russia, but still eclipsing that 900,000 mark on the Hard Rock is absolutely incredible. Will we see Markman close out the SS on the easy?
And that SS will be confirmed. An absolute insane score and an insane team difference. What an crazy 1.6 million team difference I've ever seen in a Fremont 2 such as this one. Russia absolutely obliterated Brazil on the Fremont 2 pick, bringing back the equilibrium that they so ever so desire and deserve as well from that Fremont 2 win. And so that's going to be very, very smooth right now. We're going into a 4th map where Brazil is going to be down the map as expected as a second pick. But what an amazing score from Markram, an amazing performance from Dahulka as well from that Nomad.
That
That's
score from
gonna
the elite
be
also deserves a special
Brazil.
mention. 900k on Hard Rock is insane on this. That's genuinely such a
Oh, yeah,
great score. But it's time for Brazil to try and get some momentum going once again, because Russia has now won 2 points in a row. Definitely don't want them to, you know, gain way too much momentum. So trying to break that momentum from Russia, and Brazil will probably want to opt into that probably DC3 or Fremont 3. Just get the tapping in and get that point back from Russia. Make sure that they don't get too far ahead.
Let's see if Brazil can opt in for a map that they're very, very obviously going to win in. We've been kind of alluding at those kind of mechanic maps, Fremont 3 and DT3, especially with the higher mechanics that Brazil is very, very capable of. DT2 from last week has been very, very close from both of these teams, especially when they didn't match up each other. Both of them had on that 3.5 million and above kind of score mark. And so in terms of the consistency of mechanics in this matchup, DT3 and Fremont 3, you are looking for a little bit of more luck in terms of who is going to break, who's going to have the low accuracy on the Hard Rock. But yeah, Fremont 3, very, very predictable pick here, and I believe that this is a pick that they need to go for, especially in this kind of mid section of our matchup here. Already 3 maps down, and you're going into our 4th map. Second pick for yourselves that Fremont 3 needs to be picked.
Yeah, it is quite an essential pick here for Brazil. You do not want to go 3-1 down, so you definitely do want to opt for one of your stronger picks here, and I believe that this Fremont 3 is probably Brazil's best pick that is still remaining in the pool. And I don't think we'll see any sort of overmod coming in from either of these teams, considering you don't really want to risk any further hitters. I mean, unless it's just pure hidden comfort. But definitely not risk any further Hard Rocks, because you don't want to be playing these 240 BPM buffs, I believe, on a 4010. It just makes it significantly harder to act. But yeah. So I think Brazil should be still slightly favored on this map. I think it might be quite close though, considering what we did see last week and how close both Russia and Brazil were matched on the tapping overall, despite Brazil, I guess, technically being a slightly more favorite tapping roster. They both had some very, very similar team scores. But Brazil, of course, special mention to that 4-way S rank on the previous round PT2.
Brazil just has a little bit more stamina than Russia, and considering that their DT3 scores have been absolutely destroying Russia in the past week. But this map does contain a lot more finger control than stamina. I think the stamina does still play a part, but will you have more of the finger control? There's a lot of doubles in some of these sections of the map, so players have to be paying attention and have to know the map a little bit. This is a very sight-readable map, but there is some patterns that do require a little bit of knowledge, and I believe 3.2 circle size makes this a little bit dense in terms of Hard Rock, I would say, because some of these doubles and some of these notes are kind of stacked up on each other. So Brazil's pick, Fremont 3. I believe the timer is already over. Let's go and see the mods. I believe you will always see her. Just a Hard Rock, maybe 2 hiddens, and a no mod, of course, from one of those players. I believe Russia will do follow suit.
I think we'll probably see 2 hiddens on both of these teams. As for who will take the hiddens, actually, looking at Russia, maybe they might opt for the double Hard Rock. The Hooch can delete, maybe going for Hard Rock to on the normal to mark him on the hidden. That's easy? What?
Okay.
That's okay. I didn't expect to see easy on this. Wow, okay. That very much changes things. And Brazil, okay, I guess I was wrong. Both teams opting for a double Hard Rock. So wanting to play esports on D10, and I guess that does make sense if you're just really not comfortable on the hidden and the tapping. But overall, early start, not really much to be said. Neither of these teams finding any difficulties, barring that toy break just coming in now at about the 250 combo mark. But everyone else holding on pretty solidly. Brazil with a very minor accuracy lead, but I think it's just all eyes to see if Markram does find any difficulties on this reading. And because if that easy does break, it'll be a significant halt to their score.
But this man has done it before. An SS on that Fremont 2, he can do wonders on his Fremont 3, and that's on Os finding the first huge break on Brazil. There was an earlier break on Toy Break and Mats, but now it's going to be a double break. Now it's going to be a triple break on Yuichi. Brazil just loses all 3 of the FCs in the blink of an eye, and 4 FCs are still intact, especially the easy on Russia. So Mistia is basically doing it all for Brazil while also trying to hold on to dear life against Russia. Mistia falters in a band of triples, and Markram going to find a break on the easy. Delete finding a break as well. Russia still have the 3 FCs, but now it's down to 1 on Dahuka. And is Brazil trying to falter for any kind of combo? But what can you do with 1 FC considering to none?
Brazil's in such a bad position here, not really having any sort of combo. You have a little bit of a recovery on Matsunosu, which is now the largest combo left in the lobby, as Dahushka does find the break on the FC. So Brazil does still kind of have an avenue, but you only have a core left in the map and not really enough combo to cover a 400,000 score deficit. And I think this just might be another breakpoint for the side of Russia as we get into the final 8th of the map. What can Brazil even do here as Matsunosu finds another break?
Yeah, there's not a lot of combo on the board whatsoever. This map is not letting up in terms of freaking control and stamina. You're getting into the more intense sections at the end. You can see nobody's trying to grab that combo. Nobody's trying to grab the huge accuracy. Russia, 2 breakpoints in a row from their side. And that is 3 points total in a row. Down 0-1, transforming that loss to a 3-1 win. And a 3-1 lead will be so good for Russia, as they have the next pick, going to be consolidating into a position where they're going to be up 4-1.
Yeah, and I think that 4-1 mark is where you truly start getting comfortable in the match, where you've just won your opponent's breakpoint and it's time for you to win it back on the pick of your own. However, again, as you did see on the first map, Brazil can very much breakpoint whatever Russia does pick here. Now that Fremont 2 is gone, what does Russia really opt into here? Do we see them opt into the number 3 and try and set Brazil off on some of the control, or maybe that hidden 3 and try and out-skill cap Brazil, and again, kind of opt for the tech that they did lose on the number 4, but again, it's the hidden 3 is a significantly harder map. It's also on the hidden, which might just favor Russia a little bit better. So a couple of picks there for Russia, but we'll see if they do opt for it. Yes, they do go for the hidden 3, so opting for, again, as I have mentioned in a couple of matches before, I'd say the hardest map in the pool by not too much, but definitely quite a bit harder than the rest. And I think this is where Russia can really just stretch their legs and showcase their true skill cap on a map like this.
And we are blessed to see a beautiful original come in. Xavier XD making it glowstone percentage tech assisted speed run for our hidden 3 of quarterfinals. As it says in the description, share this map with your friends, share this map with your mother, share this map with your father. Mapped by Basherman. Thank you guys so much for this original. An absolute banger, an absolute crazy map that Felicia has described as possibly one of the most difficult maps in the pool. And Russia picking hidden into Brazil is such a Joker card here. It's going to be an absolute destruction that Russia is going to put on Brazil, because I believe there's not much Brazil can do here. You could absolutely take over this break point if possible, if Russia does low roll a lot, but in terms of Brazil's hidden game, it is far more weaker than Russia.
Yeah, and I think it's a story we have seen all throughout the tournament. Russia just being a really strong roster overall on the hidden, so Brazil will have their work cut out for them on this map, but again, they might still be able to fight on this map because you do have someone like Mistia who has historically been one of Brazil's highest skill cap players, not just in 4 digit, because he only recently reached 4 digit, but in open rank as well. And then you also have the experience of someone like Kagura coming in. But then again, on the side of Russia, you have Mark, you have Garabik, you have Antona. Like, it's such a strong roster for Russia, especially on something like Hidden Tech. They really do excel at something like this with the players that they have in, so we'll see how Russia does fare up on this. And honestly, it's surprisingly already in on the Hidden. Not someone who's necessarily known for playing too much Hidden, but I believe they have improved quite a bit in recent times, so definitely a good bet for Brazil, considering they are a very, very strong player on tech in general.
Don't forget to mention that Wispy also did partake in the mapping of this Hidden 3. So thank you for the 2 mappers on the bottom of your screen for making this beautiful map.
And also Kaimaniac for the illustration, and of course, Xarex for the custom song as well. So thank you very much for making this song for this 4WC iteration. It's very much appreciated. It's an absolute banger, if I say so myself.
Well, straight into it. Russia, opportunity to go up 4-1. It's going to do them wonders in the late game of this best of 11, with our 5th map being Hidden 3 and the map not loading because Bancho's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And Yuichi has already claimed 378,000 score because he's just like that.
And also 260 combo in the span of about 100. But that should shortly be fixed as Bancho just eventually catches up with his true score. But yeah, we just have a quick bit of build up before the map truly does set in. A little bit of a break and straight back into the build up. And again, I think Russia should be pretty favored on this, but we'll see what Brazil has to put up on this map. Getting into the first main TI section of the map, Antonov's the first to find a significant break. And Brazil is able to just steal away a very slight score lead going into finishing the first quarter of the map.
Ooh, double break on Brazil, traded by Biadok. And Russia also getting a break on Garabik, so Russia only has 1 FC, never mind. Still the 1 FC for Russia. Brazil just dropped all 4 players at the same time. I believe Yuichi was a Bancho. It's the only one to kind of go against Russia right now, but what can you do with an FC on Markram? The guy that has been going crazy on the easy is now going absolutely insane on the Hidden 3. This guy's aim control tech has been absolutely astonishing this entire matchup. But now we go into a section where a lot more snappiness is going to be in control of this Hidden 3, and Brazil still finding some recovery combo, but still dropping that as well. It's going to be Afradi and Mistia for Brazil to try and combat against Markram, but what can you do? He's still going, gonna find the drop, and Garabik's there to pick up the pieces, but there was not supporting combo anywhere for Brazil.
And that drop from Afradi on the supporting combo is just really, really crucial. And Garabik can just steal the show away with the 600 supporting combo. Not even supporting combo, recovery combo at this point, but he does now find a break. Brazil is now in the slight combo lead, but as I say that, both Yuichi and Mistia find breaks on some of the flow aim and aim control, and it just really is not looking good for Brazil here. A third of the map left, and Russia's 200,000 points in the lead. It is a full reset now, though, for the side of Russia, and Brazil now does have the highest combos. Afrodi and Kagura really trying their best to bring some of the score lead back for Brazil, and Markram finding some repeated breaks. This is the start of something for Brazil, potentially, but we do only have a quarter left of the map. And I don't know if we have the combo left for all of these players, as we do see Afrodi finding another break in Kagura as well. And I think that spells disaster for Brazil. It's a full reset from everyone but Yuichi. And Russia just looks to be stealing away a 4th point in this match now as we close out the map.
And it's just smooth sailing for Russia. Not the beating that I thought it would be versus Brazil, but Brazil did make it competitive in these kind of mid-sections, but Russia just going to be absolutely favored in the hidden maps. And that is going to be a 4-1 consolidation on 2 whole breakpoints for them. As Brazil is down 3 points, there is a lot of climbing to do, a lot of walking to do. If you want to get back on top of that mountain where you will be tied and possibly win this entire match, you got to win I believe you have to win 3 of your own picks. Or excuse me, you have to win 2 of your own picks and 2 of Russia's picks if you want to bring this to match point consolidation. But it is so much work against Russia right now.
Yeah, Russia really just excelling in this match, really showcasing their strengths and not faltering really on anything so far. Even on the first point Brazil did take, it was so close. It was only 17 or 18,000 points that did separate them. So no matter what has been picked, Russia has looked very, very strong in it. But Brazil have an opportunity to try and break that momentum from Russia, and I think at this point they really, really need to take this point. And despite them losing that 3-mod 3, I think they might opt into the DT3 to get another tapping map picked against Russia and try and just really play into their own strengths.
Brazil, not a lot of picks. I'm trying to figure out what they could pick here. A lot of options are very, very limited here. Hard Rock has yet to be picked. You are a little bit more favored in terms of Hard Rock for Brazil, considering that Russia does opt out for more Hard Rock and DT bans throughout this entire tournament from group stage, round of 16. But what can you do? The only realistic thing and staying by the book and strategy is DT3, which is very, very stamina heavy. I believe more accuracy was kind of gained in that 3-mod 3 for Brazil. But yeah, just going by the book, going by your plan, DT3 is going to be Brazil's pick here.
Yep, which is the expected pick. It's something that we did kind of predict, and I think it's what Brazil really needs to take, because if they do end up losing this point, they'll be in such a drastic position. Being 5-1 down up against Russia is not something you want to do. So, a very, very, very important pick for Brazil. I think any point onwards is just absolutely crucial in this matchup. Brazil did the closest map to this in the previous stage was the DT2, which I believe Brazil did just barely beat Russia out on. The question is whether we'll see a repeat of that, as Russia just has showcased to be the strongest skill cap team in comparison to Brazil. But we will see, because surely we'll be kicking off into the map, and I think we'll see pretty similar rosters to what we did see on the 3-mod 3. Both of them being very similar style of maps. This map, I guess, just a bit more stamina heavy than what we did see on the 3-mod 3, and a lot more finger control, a lot less finger control as well.
Yeah, not a lot of finger control, kind of just the pure raw stamina required for this DT3. And Russia does have the players for this. Don't count them out. You saw in that 3-mod 3 that they were able to combo a lot more than Brazil for that 3-mod 3 steal. But DT3 is just an entire different story. Where do you have the stamina to kind of keep your accuracy up? Will you have the stamina to keep your combo is the more important question. For Brazil, their top 4 mechanics players, Matano, Suichi, Toy Break, going to be that kind of main core for these mechanics maps. Mistia, do not count him out. He's going to be very, very good at these maps as well. And Russia would delete Garabig, Sazuha, and the Hulk coming in for Russia.
Both of these rosters are very solid at tapping, and it's just kind of the tapping goal for each of these rosters. I think for Brazil, you don't see anybody being swapped out, and only for Russia, you do see Markram coming out for, I believe it is No, is it Garbic that did come in for Markram? I think it is. I believe it was, yes. But kicking off into the DT3, the very start of the focus map, and it will be... We can already kind of see some telltale signs of who really isn't feeling too confident on the stamina, and at this point it just really seems like Delete is the only one kind of faltering behind everyone on the accuracy. Of course, you do have a couple of players on Brazil with a bit lower accuracy, but not to the point that Delete did drop a lot of 150s.
Just slight accuracy lead for Brazil. couple of players in the 97s for Brazil. Only one person in Russia at 92, but there's 299% on Russia, which is actually keeping the lead for them surprisingly very, very well here. There's a lot more accuracy drops on Mystia, but this just all comes down to accuracy at this point. No combo drops are happening so far. And that right now, that is the first set of huge streams that are gone over with. That is second half going to be arriving to. And Felicia, there is not a lot happening, but all the 8 FCs on board are still intact.
It's also really surprising to have AFCs being held onto on this map, but it really looks like someone like Misty might find a break fairly soon. Really struggling on the accuracy as the lead has recovered very, very well despite falling down to 88%. And it's a double break from Brazil. See Yuichi and Misty both breaking. The Husha does trade alongside Suzuha, so it is still dead even in the combo department. But the FCs of Brazil are the ones with the higher accuracy, and Garabik dropping that FC for Russia. So Brazil all of a sudden has a combo lead for the first time in this map. And they will really start reeling the score lead back in, though Miss is finding consistent drops alongside Yuichi. Those accuracies really falling very far behind anyone in Russia. And despite those breaks in Brazil having the combo lead, the score lead hasn't shifted too much. However, it should start accelerating now as Garabik does find a very unfortunate break. And there we go, Brazil finally taking the lead for the first time in the map. We do still have some longer streams coming in at the tail end of the map. We will find more accuracy drops now. Play break is doing very well, so sitting at 99.3% accuracy and just really taking this away from Brazil and 100,000 points in the lead. As long as no breaks coming from Brazil, this should be sealed and done for Brazil now.
The stamina just running out for Russia as Brazil still has the stamina to keep on going on that DT3. It's the reason why they still have the 2 FCs. There's the reason why only 1 FC is on Russia. Misty, I will thank his teammates for an absolute carry of a century. 3.2 million team score for Brazil. It's a 274,000 score lead on the DT3 in Brazil. That's one step to try and get that lead back. But as I said, you do need to win 2 of Russia's picks here to try and get yourself into that area where you can force the tiebreaker or even possibly just win the match all outright in this very moment. But it is a lot of work to do as Russia, I believe we've still yet to go into aim control picks such as Nomad 3, DT4, and Fremod 4 if you really count that as the aim control pick, but mainly being that tech. And it's so very scary now in these terms of maps. A lot of aim, a lot of kind of consistency picks are left on the board where you do need to have players that are able to carry very, very hard in the rest of these maps.
I think, Russia already goes straight away for a pick, and it is that Fremod 4 opting for that control, which is something that I did allude to a little bit earlier. Russia, I think, overall just favored on any sort of control pick. And as we have seen on both of the Fremod's pick, Russia just having that general upper hand on the mods. And I think I didn't expect any easies being taken on the Fremod 3. There's no way any sort of easy gets taken on the Fremod 4. I just don't think it's just in any means of the imagination feasible in the slightest. So I would love to see proven wrong. If Markram hops in, then I would be very interested to see if he does opt for the easy. But I think overall, on a control map like this, you just will not see any sort of easy. And I think this is honestly, looking at the pool, one of the better picks left for Russia. You do, of course, have that number 3 still left open, which I think would also play into the hands of Russia fairly well. But we will see.
Very, very slider heavy tech map here coming in. Lots of control in terms of the sliders that are with in this map. Especially in the cores that are about to hear right now in this song section, lots of slider ticks are going to be up for grabs in this Fremod 4. And I believe most of the breaks in this map come from the slider ticks themselves. I believe the aim is a little bit easy if you just kind of disregard the fact that you have to hit the slider ends, which are very, very difficult in this tech map. So Brazil, lots of work cut out for them. Russia has, I believe, been a lot more favored in these control/tech maps that have been played so far, and especially in the group stage and the round of 16 pool, they just seem a lot better.
Something that I would like to mention about this map is the fact that it is, I guess, out of all the maps in this pool, maybe on a little bit of the easiest side with Nomad and Hidden. I think we'll only see one Hard Rock coming in from both of these teams, considering that this map is generally just significantly harder on Hard Rock. So I think the main focus will be on how many of the combos on the non-Hard Rock players will be held for each of these teams, given just, again, how tricky it is on Hard Rock. And I think Russia just in general has had that upper hand all throughout the match, especially on something that is this tech focus. Sure, you do have that Nomad 4 that did go over to Brazil, but it was very, very slight, and again, there were no mods in play. And I think when mods do become in play, Russia just is overall slightly favored.
All 8 players in the lobby see the mod distribution. Markram really likes the easy. This
Like,
man has been on easy on
what?
every single free mod so far. Free mod 2, free mod 3, and now the free mod 4. The slider ticks might be a little bit easier to hit on easy. Let's just see how it works. I've never seen this map on easy, let alone this mod at all. But Brazil, of course, going to be the default mods from the 2 hiddens and 1 hard rock, and especially that 1 no mod. And same thing around for Russia. A very, very equal right now.
I honestly don't even know what to say. I mean, it is Marker at the end of the day, so I guess it is to be expected, but it's just so shocking to see this being played on easy. I didn't even think it was feasible, but it is Marker at the end of the day. Regardless, getting into a little bit more of a tech focus section. Will we see any early breaks coming in? Special look out for those hard rocks who should start to struggle a bit earlier on in the map. But so far it's looking pretty good for all of these players. Cowboy finds a break for the side of Brazil, but it is traded by Markram on the easy. So still very even early doors. Cowboy finding another repeated break. But again, just not really any other breaks coming in on any of the other combos. It's just those repeated breaks on those 2 players who have already broken for both Russia and Brazil.
Slider ticks only catching Yuichi Kao for Brazil, and I believe Markram did not find any slider breaks in that midsection that I was alluding to earlier this map for the slider ticks there. So I believe Russia does have the advantage here. Yep, Russia has advantage. 3 FCs, a recovery combo turning into a supporting combo for Markram, and Brazil only on the 2 FCs on Kagira and Rafael. So lots of free combo here for Russia to build up a very, very huge lead, a very sizable one to say the least. Is going to be a lot of work for Brazil. You need these other 2 combos on the hidden and on the hard rock to do kind of a little bit of supporting combo. Not a lot. You just need a very, very unfortunate break from Russia. Markram's going to give it to you, but that's not the 3 FCs that are still on the board right now. And that's more important because that lead is still extending.
Yep, already at about 200,000 points, and it will only balloon farther and farther as we get into another tech section. If Brazil wants even a slight chance of bringing this back, they will need to see at least 2 of these combos breaking on Russia. The lead still holding on to that Hard Rock FC is actually diabolical. As I say that, of course,
Goodbye.
he's not trying to break, but it is still that double FC being held on to by Brazil, but there are no recoveries. And they are just completely matched by Garbic and Viadok, but on the side of Russia. And Brazil seem to be dropping a 5th point in this match. Viadok does find a break, but it is traded by Rafael. It's just Kagura up against Garbic. Now Garbic finds a break, but it is way too late in the map for anything to happen on the side of Brazil. And Russia takes a 5th point in the match and guarantees himself the tiebreaker.
It's an FC on Biadok on the hidden, an absolute beautiful score. Only 250s in a map that requires so much slider aim. That is an incredible accuracy score on the hidden. And don't shy away from the Nomad from Rafael on Brazil on the bottom right of your screen. 765,000. A couple of slider breaks at the end of the map, but Unfortunately, the 4v4 does get to you. Brazil 1 point away from getting eliminated, as Russia is 1 point away from moving on in the quarterfinals. Losers round 2.
I just
And
want
there
to take a
is
moment to also
two of these.
appreciate the lead score once again on the Hard Rock. He's been going off on this Hard Rock one. 700k on that is just insane again. Like, what can you even do for Brazil there? You did have the FC on Kaigura as well, as you did mention, so Brazil some very good scores, but again, Russia just overall being stronger as a team. And again, it is back for, I believe it is Brazil to pick, and they really do need to get on the board here. If they lose this, they are eliminated. And the matchup, the rematch from 4WC2026 seems to be going into Russia's favor once again. But again, still a couple of points left to be played. Will Brazil be able to mount a comeback, or will Russia just steal this away? And I think looking at the rest of the pool, if you're Brazil, you might just want to opt into maybe the free mod 1. Despite Russia having shown quite a lot of strength in general on the free mods, it just might be what you have left. The hidden 1 might not also be half bad. But again, it's kind of hard to find a map that Russia just isn't really strong on. I think that normal 2 might just be floated in this match. I don't think either of these teams want to necessarily go into it. The 180 BPM flow. And it's actually the hard rock 1 that gets picked by Brazil. Brazil being pretty solid at hard rock, so a fairly decent pick, I guess. Although, I guess it is a little bit harder than what we might have seen in Free Mode 1. But Brazil opting to see if they can fare up a little bit better on the skill cap, which hasn't necessarily worked out in this match so far. But again, it is a different map. Brazil did previously pick into that No Mod 1, so let's see if this Hard Rock 1 does pan out for them, unlike the No Mod 1.
It's a Hard Rock 1, and a very contradicting Hard Rock 1 from all the rest of our aim picks in the pool. Hidden 1 being that low BPM AR9 map, and Nomad 1 being a very high BPM aim map where it's very consistent throughout the entire map. But in this 4-minute map, it's very reminiscent of all those very default Hard Rock 1s, Nomad 1s, any consistent map that you can think of. 5.2 circle size, AR10, OD10, you're mainly very default kind of stats for the Hard Rock 1. But especially in these key eyes, let's talk about the key eyes. Very diff bumpy kind of ending jumps at the end of these key eyes is going to be the main part of where these combos will kind of thrive. And if you will grab a lot of score at the end of the runs here, could kind of develop a lot of misses as well on these kind of far jumps. But Russia picking this, or excuse me, Brazil picking this, it's a do or die situation here. Let's see if your aim is a lot better than the Nomad 1 that happened a while ago.
Yep, it is, as you mentioned, a bit of a diff spiky map. And Brazil really do need this to work out for them, unlike the Nomad 1, which really did not go that way. It is a different style of map, a bit lower BPM in comparison to the Nomad 1, and Brazil have kind of showcased a bit more of a hard rock strength throughout this tournament. So we'll see if Brazil can fare out pretty well. It seems like we do have all of the rosters finalized for both of these teams. And for the side of Russia, you always want to keep an eye out for someone like Dilby, who has just absolutely been going off on hard rock all throughout this match. And for the side of Brazil, you will want to keep an eye out on someone like Yuichi and Kagura as well. Both very strong players on aim, and Yuichi very strong at hard rock in general as well. So we will see if Brazil can put up a fight to Russia, or if Russia will steal another breakpoint and close out the match.
Important map for Brazil. Try to grab some momentum from the Hard Rock 1 here. but Russia has won that Nomad 1 before, showing that there was a little bit better aim on their side. But is it different on a mod change? Is it different in a different field? Gonna be questions answered in a couple of minutes. But very, very consistent parts here. Easy combo for all of these players. And I talk about the key eye sections. Those are the more important parts. We gotta talk finding a break in the slow sections here. That's not where you want to find a break currently, but it's still very early to say if this is going to impact them by a huge amount. But now into the key eye.
Yeah, getting into the Ki, Russia being a little bit behind on the combo. However, the accuracy is also starting to play a bit of a part here. A quarter of the way through the map. No one finding any misses on a bit of a harder aim section in this Ki. And it seems everyone is just standing strong, standing tall above these jumps. And yeah, no breaks to be spoken of in this fast Ki section. Will we see any player breaking on the post-Ki jumps? And we do! We see 3 breaks coming in from Brazil and only 1 from Russia! This is such a bad situation for Brazil. They are really, really struggling now. Only 1 FC standing up against 2 FCs on Russia. And the supporting combo on Biadog. That is absolutely tragic for Brazil. Breaking just after the Ki on some of the more cross-screen jumps. Getting into some of the streams. And Brazil doesn't find any breaks, neither does Russia.
So much work cut out for Kageryura, and that is not a lot of support happening from Brazil. Toybreak and Rafael finding more breaks as Russia still has the 2 FCs on Dali and Dahook. But Dali's going to find a break, and Dahook as well. An opportunity, a door has opened for Brazil, and it's wide open. But you have to make the run for it. You gotta catch that opening. And Kageryura has the opportunity here. You need a little bit more supporting combo to make this a little bit easier, but this is so important. These doubles, these very far snappy jumps are so difficult, and sometimes but shit misses can happen at any time. Very, very free combo in these sections, but let's see if he hits the stream wiggle, and he will. But now into another huge difficult section of jumps. It's very, very difficult because of the overlapping 1-2s that could happen in this section. And he's still going. He's going to find the break, but I believe there's enough combo on his teammates to try and pick up the pieces.
Yeah, those recoveries from Brazil being absolutely massive. You see Rafael falling down. Yuichi getting slow slided though. And everybody barring the Hushka getting slow slided. It is only 30,000 points separating these teams. And the combos are almost dead even. That Hush is the only person to find a combo above 100. The only one to not get slow slided. And this is such a crucial point in the match. Toybreak finding a break on a little bit of that supporting combo. And any sort of breakdown would be absolutely crucial. Will Brazil be able to hold on? The elite finds a break. And any accuracy drop will make such a massive difference. It's only 8,000 points separating these two teams. Brazil have a little bit of work to do, getting into some of the more cross-screen jumps. Kageryura Toybreak miss, and I think that might spell disaster for Brazil, as the combos of Russia are really standing strong. Biadog does find a break, but we only have about 8 seconds left in the map, and Brazil keeps finding these repeated breaks, and Russia do steal away a final break point to further just seal the deal in this match and take it 6-2.
And that's why you read the map before you play. Sight reading is such a curse. And I don't believe any of those players sight read, but the slow slider of doom. It's tragedy for Brazil, but what do you know? Russia moving on in the tournament. And they will move on very well, as they will be facing off against, I believe, Australia at Sunday 12 UTC. And Brazil, unfortunately, is going to be knocked out of the tournament. Thank you guys so much for your efforts. Brazil, it is an absolute pleasure having you for this entirety of the 4WC. 3 rounds that we had, group stage, round of 16, and now quarterfinals. An absolutely beautiful placement as well. But Russia moving on into that Australian battle that they will have to be facing off to kind of guarantee themselves a top 12 finish and a spot in the semifinals week. But an absolute crazy match that we just saw. That was an absolute eyeballing performance from Russia as well.
Yeah, Russia really just showcasing their strengths and really kind of a warning sign to Australia saying that they are ready to take the win in that matchup, and they put up some very strong scores. But yep, I don't know exactly when that match will be, but let me just double check to see, just so I can keep you guys informed. It will be let's see, Australia versus Russia will be at 12 UTC tomorrow, so make sure you do stay tuned for that. And I think that will be it from us. I do want to take a quick moment though to mention our sponsors for this tournament, that is Yobimo, Slider Pals, and Kagami Studio. We do have a giveaway running, which you can find by scrolling down in our Twitch page. Make sure you give a click on that image and enter the giveaway on Twitter. But yeah, I think that's it, unless you have any other closing words, Exia.
Congratulations to Russia. Thank you, Brazil, for playing. We'll see you guys in that next matchup. It's been an absolute pleasure. My name's Exia. XD Felicia has been on the caster couch with me, and we'll see you guys next time.